Hello everyone, welcome to George Crafts. This is the final video in our Hedwig series from the Harry Potter and Aldi Crochet Your Own Hedwig kit. So you should have all your pieces made up by now. If you haven't and you need some help, check out the other 6 videos. I have already stuffed and closed the bottom of the head and body, and I've already put the stuffing into the feet. I've done my claws in black yarn because I thought it looked better than the yellow. I've already sewn my flecks into the wings, but I'll show you how to do those when we do the tail. And I've stitched my envelope together. So first thing I'll show you how to do is to sew the flecks into the tail, just the same as you've done with the wings. So you're going to need your black yarn. I'm just going to snip the end off mine just to make it a bit easier to thread onto my needle. So I'm going to cut myself a length of yarn, and then I haven't closed the top yet, and I've done it this way so that when I put the stitches in it'll only be on one side. So decide where you want to start and just pop the needle through. And then just leave a little tail hanging and pop another stitch. So that's secure now, it's not going to come out if you pull. You're not going to lose the end of your yarn. But to make extra sure, you can always go round one more time. And then I like to sew little triangles, all pointing in the same direction, just to make the details. And then once I've done one, carry on to the next one. So into the next stitch and down, and then up and out the same hole, and then down to the point, and move on to the next one. So I'll let you carry on with your flecks, and I'll catch up with you when you're finished. In the meantime, if you find that you like this video or it's been useful to you, just make sure that you give us a like and tell us what you thought in the comments. And if you want more updates from us, subscribe to our channel and make sure you turn on post notifications. So once you've sewn all the flecks on, your one end of your black yarn will be inside the tail, and then all you need to do is just bring the other end inside, and then you don't need to worry about hiding the ends anywhere because they'll just be tucked inside the tail. The tail doesn't get stuffed, all we need to do is just close it. So I've got some larger crochet here just to show you how to do that, because it will be a bit easier to see on the camera. So if you thread up your needle, and I'm just going to sew the two ends closed. And what you need to do is just find these little V's on the top of your crochet. Okay, and then you're going to pop your needle underneath the V and then go back into the next one. And then under the next one and back through. And then under the next one, making sure that you catch both sides of your crochet. And then you can't see where your stitches are, and it's nice and neatly closed. So if we do that on the tail now, if you use the end from where you finished doing the crochet, then you don't need to use a separate piece of yarn. So tuck all the other ends in apart from the one you're sewing with your needle. Pick up one stitch at a time on each side, pull the needle through and then go back the same way. So once you've done that, you can finish the wings in the same way. So add the flex on and then just sew the ends closed, and I'll catch up with you when you're ready for the next stage. Once you've finished all the embroidery, so that's the claws, the wings and the tail, we're going to attach all the pieces to the body. What I've done is I've chosen where I think the pieces look best, and I've just held them in place with pins, and that just allows you to kind of move things around and see where you want to put them without sort of committing to sewing them. There is guidance in the pattern for where to put them, and if you want to follow the guidelines, just count down from the centre of the head in rows and attach the pieces where it says to in the pattern. Otherwise, just move them around and pin them in place, and then once you're happy you can start sewing. So I'm going to start with the face. Now I've pinned the beak in here, but I'm going to have to take that off to sew it with. So I'm just going to pop another pin where I want to start my sewing and take the beak off. And then I'm going to just thread my needle with the ends of the beak that were from where we finished our crochet, and I'm just going to use the tails to sew the beak to the face. And I'll start where I've put the pin. So I'll put my sewing needle in, and then I can take the pin out. Just pull the tails all the way through. So once you're happy it's fixed on, you need to tie off your sewing and hide the ends. So if you just pass your needle underneath the beak, and then you're creating just a little loop there, and then tie a knot nice and tight, and then make sure you've got both your ends. With your needle, and then all you have to do is poke your needle into the body, out the other side, grab the tails, so these are the tails from the beak, press down onto the crochet so it's squashed, snip, and there you go. Beak's all sewn on and there's no tails hanging out. It's nice and neat. So we can do the same with the wings. And because there's two of them and you're going to be sticking them at roughly the same place, we can sew those on both at the same time. But we're going to need our white yarn for that. So I'll just grab it out of the box. So if we find the end and cut ourselves a nice length of yarn, get our needle threaded, and then just make sure that we're happy with where the wings are. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop my needle into the crochet at the same position the pin is at. And then I'm going to sew same way as I started off with the flex on the wings and the tail, just to make sure that the stitch is nice and secure. So at the moment we're still just working on the one wing. But now what I'm going to do is that now I'm happy my stitches are secure, I'm going to pop my needle into the wing and into the body and just gently poke it until it comes out the other side into the other wing, and then I can take that pin out, pull my yarn all the way through and start sewing on this side. So our wings are loosely attached now. So all I'm going to do is just keep sewing backwards and forwards through both wings until I'm happy with where I've put them. And then I'm going to use the same piece of yarn to sew on the legs. So that yarn's now coming out of the bottom where the feet are attached with the pins. So we'll sew the feet on. Now the feet themselves are stuffed, as you can see there, but they're not closed off. So what we'll do is we'll sew all around the outside of the feet, adding them on to the body underneath. So what I'm going to do is take my needle, poke it through the leg and back through the body. So that's loosely attached now. And now pick up the next stitch on the leg, go back into the body and out again. And just be careful when you're working near the pins that you don't stab yourself. And I'm just going to keep going round the top of each leg, picking up the next stitch and taking it through the body until it's closed up. So keep going with that, and I'll catch up with you when both the legs are sewn on. So once you're happy that your legs are sewn on, leave the yarn on the needle again, and we'll use the same piece of yarn to sew the tail on. So take your needle, pass it back up through the body of Hedwig and out where the tail begins. And then you can take your pins out as you pop your first stitch in. And then we're just going to stitch the tail onto the body. So pick up a stitch from the tail and pass your needle through there and through the body. And again. So through the body, pick up a stitch of the tail. Through the tail and back through the body. So just finish off stitching your tail on and I'll catch up with you when you finish that bit. So now all we've got left to stitch on are the eyes and the envelope. The eyes have these little white dots in them, which are like the light reflection. So if we keep our yarn still attached to our needle, pass the needle back through the body and up and out where we want one of the eyes, or close to where we want one of the eyes. We can add that reflection and attach the eye at the same time. Okay, so to make it stand out you can go round a couple of times. There we go. And when you're happy with one, just pop the needle back through and come out on the other side. So we still have to stitch on the eyebrows for Hedwig. And we can do that with the black yarn that trails out from our eye. So if you pop your tails onto your needle, and then what we'll do is we'll bring the needle back up through the eye, and we're just going to sew through the eye and the body at the same time. To make our eyebrows. And that means that our eyes will be nice and firmly attached. And again, we can tie off underneath. And tuck our ends nice and neatly inside, and then we'll just finish off with this end and secure the eye underneath. In a similar way. So that takes care of the tails on the eyes. And then if you want to add a little bit more definition to the eyebrows, you can do that with a new piece of thread. So continue and do the same thing with the other eye. So finish attaching and sewing on your eyebrow, and I'll catch up with you for that. Now the only thing left to sew on is the envelope. You can sew it wherever you want to. The pattern suggests that you sew it in front of the feet. So that's what we'll do. But before I do, I'm going to make sure I tidy up these ends. So we'll do it the same way as we've done all the others. So thread our needle, pop the needle inside the body and out the other end. Make sure all our tails are through. Pull it nice and tight and use our scissors to snip. So once more, thread up the needle, pop the tails back inside the body, out the other end, pull it tight, snip. Okay, and we've got one more here. So last one, thread the needle, pass it inside the body, pull it tight and snip. Okay, give your little doll a squeeze to make sure everything's back where you put it. So then if we take ourselves another length of white yarn, thread up the needle, this time just have it so your yarn is folded in half and you've got a little loop and then two tails at the other end. Go inside the fold of your envelope here, pull the yarn up, grab a hold of one of the stitches in the feet, go back down inside the envelope and then pass the needle through the end of the loop and pull it tight so it's nice and secure, and then just sew through the fold of the envelope and through the bottom of the foot. And then go back through the top of the fold and then up again, and then through the bottom of the foot. Okay, and then when you're happy, just bring your threads back through the fold, find one of your stitches, pass your needle underneath, tie a knot, and again pass your needle underneath the stitch, tie a knot, and then carefully snip off the ends. So that is Hedwig finished. Just tuck your tails inside the envelope and she's all ready to sit wherever you want to put her. I hope that series of videos was useful for everybody. If there's anything you'd like to see in the future, get in touch with us through our social media platforms. We're on Facebook and our tag is @GeorgeCraftsBlog, and we're on Instagram @George_crafts. So until next time, I will see you again. The next kit that we'll be making from Aldi will be the Make Your Own Hat, which is a knitting project, and I hope you'll all join in with us. I'll see you again soon. Bye.